Welcome to Love to See It, a podcast about the biggest bummer of a Love Island USA season ever, and specifically the drama-filled reunion. It is just me today. Claire is, taking care of her children. I guess children need to be watched during vacation sometimes. But joining me to break down everything that happened on the Love Island USA Season 7 reunion, well, not everything, because we don't need to cover all of the long pauses they left in. But joining me to discuss the highlights is host of Normal Gossip, Rachelle Hampton. Also, she's about to go on tour. So you can find those tickets, highly recommend a live show, at normalgossiplive.com. Rachelle, welcome back to the pod.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. We have so much to talk about.
When I saw it was 2 full hours,
Emma, I immediately texted my friend as soon as it dropped at 9 p.m. and I said, why is this 2 hours?
Just why? Why
For
are
what
you doing
reason?
this to me?
To me specifically,
Personally.
on a weeknight?
Yeah.
It's a Monday and I'm supposed to stay
It's a
until 11
Monday.
p.m.?
It's a Monday. I'm supposed to allegedly on vacation, but not really, because I'm talking about Love Island and Bachelor in Paradise.
Ooh, that's not a vacation. Despite the aesthetics, not a
No.
vacation for you at all.
I know. I'm not feeling like I am in a brightly lit villa on in Fiji at all. But we have so much to get into. Before we do, just a little bit of housekeeping. We are covering Love is Blind UK Season 2 over on Rich Text, and our finale recap will be out at the end of the week, probably a little later in the day on Friday than usual, because Claire and I are traveling this week, but we're going to do our best. We also recently released an episode about Caitlin Bristow and Colton Underwood's new dating show, Are You My First?, also over on Rich Text. So you can find those episodes at claireandemma.substack.com. Okay, Rachelle, let's get into it. The Love Island USA Season 7 reunion. First, how do we think Ariana and Andy Cohen did hosting this reunion?
I'm glad we started there because I think this is going to be the most positive thing I have to say about the reunion, which is that I think they did incredibly well. I kept texting. One of my best friends is someone who watches this show with me, so we're always live texting our experience to each other. And multiple times over the course of the 2-hour reunion, I said, oh, Andy's putting in work. Oh, this is why they pay him the big bucks. I have watched so many reunions lately where the hosts, Nick and Vanessa Lachey, don't ask any important questions.
No words.
They have no desire to push back on people because I guess they don't want to be mean. But Andy has this way of just asking the most obvious follow-up question in a way where it's just beautiful. He's so good at his job. I understand why they pay him so much money.
He deserves it. He deserves every dollar. I also thought that it was really fun to have the two of them together, especially given that Ariana has been on so many reunions that Andy has hosted. They've known each other for a very long time, and they could play off of each other. Like Ariana had the experience of obviously being there during filming, and Andy could kind of be the stand-in viewer. Like I watched the show, I listened to the podcast interview. I mean, that was about 70% of the reunion was Andy or Ariana being like, I listened to a podcast and or TikTok live that you did.
Emma, I got off TikTok at the top of this year probably because I was just busy and life is hard and I was like, these children aren't for me anymore. And I have not been keeping up with what's happening in post Love Island USA Season 7 on TikTok. And I have learned during the reunion that a lot has been happening on TikTok Live. The girlies are out here being messy as fuck on TikTok Live, which is new to me.
We are so millennial, Rachelle.
I know.
We don't know. We don't live this life. We don't live this life.
It's too much information.
I agree. I can't. Where do people find the time?
Zoomers,
like, tell me.
How are you watching? I assume they're watching clips of these TikTok lives because the way everyone from Olandria to Coco to Taylor to Iris were like, yeah, and on this podcast and then on this TikTok live on August 5th, I was just like, I know y'all don't have jobs. This is your job, so I can't blame you guys for having the time to do this. Who is watching
But
all of this enough that it's part of the discourse that it's now being
I
asked at the reunion?
You know what? I think this is why we now have an entire cottage industry of people badly summarizing podcasts and
Yes.
TikTok lives.
Yes.
So we're
Which
just
is
getting these little snippets. I also think that that like contributes actually to the vast gulf of misunderstanding that we're seeing between so many of these people because they are making their opinions on the fly, constantly changing them based off of 25-second clips they are seeing.
Yes, yes, and something that I think we know as people who host podcasts and are constantly on mic is that if you're not prepared to be on mic, you end up saying things that you probably shouldn't have, or at least things that you haven't fully thought
Yes.
of. If you're not fully media trained, speaking extemporaneously for 2 hours straight just means you're going to say something you probably shouldn't have to a large audience. And so then there's this element of these people on the reunion basically backtracking or forgetting what exactly they said on the show because it's like a 3-hour show they did several months ago. And it's like, I just think that maybe we shouldn't have these many people's opinions being published behind microphones.
I agree. I honestly think all of the Islanders should have to wait minimum 2 weeks to do any interview.
I agree. I agree. They were
They
doing
should have
press
to
from
go to
Fiji.
therapy. Yeah, exactly. They're doing press from Fiji. They're also doing press when they haven't yet seen the show that they were just on, or they've
Mhm.
just seen random edits that are on TikTok that are devoid of context. And so they're processing these things in real time. And then we're giving them a microphone, blasting them out to millions of people. And I think we see in this reunion, like how damaging that can be because this cast is in this cycle of just perpetuating hate against each other, mostly unintentionally.
Mhm. Mhm. But I do appreciate Andy and Ariana consistently
Same.
bringing up the, I guess, meta commentary that's been happening since the season aired because I've found on a lot of reunions that they will focus on maybe 2 to 3 social media things, and they're like, "Let's litigate what happened on the show." And most of the time, I'm like, "We've already seen what happened on the show. I don't actually really
Right? We don't
need any more
care.
additional context. I wanna know what's happening afterwards." So I think Ariana and Andy did a phenomenal job also of contextualizing what was said on the podcast. Like, I didn't feel like I needed to listen to any of these podcasts after this reunion, which I think is a mark of a good
Absolutely not.
interviewer. Yeah, yeah. I
I
was like,
do
"Okay,
agree with that.
understand what happened."
They struck a nice balance of bringing up the things that are relevant to the discourse, asking those follow-up questions. And I also think that they did a good job of identifying the unseen footage from the show that the audience
Mhm.
wanted to see in order to fill in some context. So I feel like those are like the kind of the best things about the
I
reunion.
agree. I agree. I think a lot of the ladies look very beautiful. I think
Oh my
Amaya's face
God.
card is crazy. Every time the camera would pan over to her, I was just like, how is she so beautiful?
She's a
How
baby
and the camera
angel.
quality last night was not great. It was the camera quality, or at least it made people look, I think, not great. Like, I could see every single wrinkle that was frozen into Andy's forehead. Like, there were a lot of skin textures
Was it
I was
also like the
seeing.
color correction,
Yeah. Something was happening
right?
where I was
There,
like, this is not flattering lighting for a lot of people, but it is letting me know who has flawless skin. Amaya,
and that's
Olandria,
Amaya.
Chelley. Exactly. I was like, if y'all
Uh,
look good under
Oh,
this lighting, then you're just absolutely gorgeous. And that's really lovely for y'all.
no, the women looked absolutely stunning. Ariana too.
Yes.
Stunning.
Yes.
Just
Mhm.
beyond.
Beautiful.
No,
Beautiful.
they all looked really, really beautiful. I loved Nicolandria's coordinated outfits.
Yeah, it's
I was
really
into Nick's
cute.
suit. I was
Yeah.
into it.
I I was into it for how hard he was matching Olandria. I was like, this is so clearly like a coordinated moment. It was a
Oh, he's
little
trying.
Nick is trying so hard. And so I appreciate a man who's trying really hard. But I was looking at him and I was just like, you have clearly, I think, spent more time around Black people in the past 4 months than you maybe have in your entire life. And it's changing you, maybe for the better, but you're definitely in a state of metamorphosis. And it's really fascinating to watch.
He's like a Cam from Love is Blind season 1, like after he got together with Lauren and all of a sudden started showing up in these like double-breasted suits.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I love a glow up sponsored by a woman.
We love that. We truly love to see it. Yeah, no, you can tell that he's like, I have to match this absolute fucking babe that I'm with now. Their relationship was the highlight of the reunion for me. And Chelley, I mean, Chelley is just one of the most gorgeous women I've ever seen. And look, while I have a lot of criticism for Huda, she did look very beautiful.
That is true.
I liked the updo.
I was a little like, it's a little messy for this moment. And, you know, a little... I think it struck it was a little too close to gym hair for me. I was like, oh, I see you're going for like a messy half up, half down.
I think we could have pulled the front tendrils back and just fully shown her face.
I think so as well.
I liked the idea of it. I liked the having it pulled back, and the dress was very pretty. So everyone looked great, even though the vibes were often rancid. So we start with our final 4 couples, all of whom at this point, when the reunion was filmed just a couple short weeks ago, were still together, other than obviously Huda and Chris. I feel like up top we have to discuss the fact that within the 2 days before the reunion aired, both Amaya and Bryan and Pepe and Iris have been rumored to break up.
The day of the reunion. Bryan and Amaya unfollowed each other on Instagram, and I was like, oh, okay.
Cool. Yeah, so glad we filmed this 2 weeks ago. So first, Iris unfollowed Pepe. Pepe was still following Iris. He has since unfollowed her. She has not made any statements, but she did post like a moody sunset with Silver Springs.
Oh no! Oh no! Not Silver Springs.
So, I don't know. I think that's
a strong
indicating.
Message. Yeah,
it really is.
No one posts Silver Springs when things end well.
Exactly. So I think people are wondering. There's been some rumors floating around, but they are truly just rumors about what happened. So I don't want to speak to that. But seems when a couple unfollows each other, it's like pretty clear that they are not together. That is just how it works in this social media age, especially when you have social media stars doing it. Yeah. They are very aware that people are going to notice. Amaya and Bryan then, as you said, yesterday unfollowed each other on Instagram. And I did notice that Amaya, her reunion posts are all just of her that she posted like this morning. So no one's made a statement, but it's not looking good for these couples.
Not at all. And I didn't necessarily see Pepe and Iris lasting for that long. The way they got together in the villa was very like, well, I guess we're both here. And Pepe loves a widow, a blonde widow, dearly.
He loves what he does. He's like, oh, that blonde white lady looks so sad.
Her lover has gone off to war. I will now swoop in and comfort her. It's so funny.
That
he
is
really
the vibe.
Has a type. Yeah, it's really funny. So I didn't really necessarily see them lasting for that. I was actually kind of surprised to see that they had lasted this long post Villa. Bryan and Amaya.
I thought it was because their physical proximity to each other.
Yeah.
But yes, point taken.
Same with Bryan and Amaya. I was like, they seem close together geographically. Amaya's in New York and Bryan is in Boston. So I had a 50-50 chance on them making it long term because culturally they seem like they share a lot. Obviously, that was a huge thing they bonded over in the villa. I feel like so much of the problem with these shows for the longevity is that they get people from across the country together, and then it's like, well, you really gotta make a
Yes.
long distance relationship work. So I am very curious to know what happened there, especially because at the reunion, they seemed strong enough that Amaya was defending Bryan from cheating allegations that I didn't even know had surfaced. I learned so much last night about the things that have come
I
out in
was
the
aware of
past 2
those, but
months.
they really seemed like bullshit. It was like a video of him at a club, like pouring shots into fans' mouths.
Yeah, that feels like a normal club
It was like
appearance.
clipped in a way that looked extra suggestive, but
Yeah.
to me, it was definitely not a smoking gun. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. They're gonna
That's
be
not
in the
cheating.
club. That's the point of going in Love Island, is to go be in the club
Yeah,
afterwards.
they're 25-year-old
They're
sex idiots. They're
children.
gonna be
They
in
should
the
be out
club,
there.
and they're gonna be
Yeah.
paid to be in the club.
And they
It's
should
fine.
be. I'm not gonna be in the club. I'm too tired. My back hurts. I woke up and I
Certainly
slept weird
not.
and my back is fucked up now. I'm not gonna be in the club now. Bryan and Amaya should
Certainly
be in the
not.
club. Yeah.
Yeah, do it for us. Do it for
No,
the sleepy millennials with
do it
bad
for
backs.
us. Yeah, exactly.
No, it was very odd though to watch these couples be like, we're amazing.
Yeah.
Amaya was like, our dynamic is healthy and great. Pepe and Iris say they were exclusive. They seem just great. And that's about all we get from these couples. So
Yeah.
it was odd to see this having filmed. And then all of this new information has obviously come out since, and we got no answers. So I guess we'll just be waiting.
Love to know what questions Andy would have asked Bryan and Amaya had they broken up when they were on the couch. Like, I feel like that was a missed opportunity for all of us. And also, I can't help feeling like it was on purpose, because if I was going to break up with someone, it would definitely be after I was going to get interviewed by Andy Cohen about our relationship.
Oh, 100%. You
Yeah.
got to be like, we're great. We're great. Can't wait to one day advance towards boyfriend and girlfriend.
No, exactly. The fact that they were like, we're exclusive. And Andy was like, so you're boyfriend and girlfriend? And they said no. And he's like, what the fuck are any of you talking about? He was so clearly like, these children are crazy. All of you are talking in therapy language and PR speak. I'm used to housewives throwing shit.
They're like, we really need to set some boundaries.
Mhm.
I mean, after this reunion, I was like, girls, sisterhood, love bombing, bullying. None of these words have meaning.
Mean anything.
Not a one.
Not anymore. It's so true. It's so true. And it's so sad because I'm in therapy and I love it. And it's done so much for me. But I feel like most people's primary interactions with therapy is through language like this being kind of weaponized by a bunch of 24-year-olds who are basically like, you don't make me feel good. And you can just say that.
To me.
Yeah.
You can just say like, this hurt me. This made me feel bad. Like, I don't feel that I was treated well. These are all things that can be said. And I don't think that we need to put a therapeutic term on something for it to be bad.
Exactly. I mean, I think that the reality of being a human is that you're going to hurt people because we're all doing our own thing. I step on my cat's tail by accident at least once a week, and I feel very bad about it, but like, he doesn't hate me for it.
He understands.
He does. Every time
Things
I say, I'm so
happen.
sorry, he's like, I get it. It's okay. It's fine, queen.
He's like, I want to see action next
No,
time, not just
exactly. He's like,
words.
accountability needs to be taken in this household.
He's like, I am going to have some lasting trauma here, but sure, keep apologizing. Maybe you could do it publicly to make up for the breach we've experienced.
Yeah. Notes app apology to my cat.
Oh, let's talk about Huda and Chris. We got a brief segment with them. I feel like Huda really showed up to this reunion ready to project that she was completely moved on, didn't have a care in the world. And in a way that sort of prevented her from being able to really engage with the questions asked of her. And I was a little disappointed in that.
I agree. I remember when the season ended, I was talking to my Love Island consultant friend and saying that I could see two directions for Huda post the season. And this was before I learned how massive her audience was, where I thought there was a 50% chance that she actually looks at her behavior and is like, I want to change that. I do not come off well. And then there's a 50% chance, depending on how many people are gassing her up, that she just kind of doubles down and is like, actually, all of my feelings were valid and the way I expressed them maybe wasn't the best, but the base level response I had was actually fine, which is not true at all. Her responses clearly come from a deeply young and traumatized space.
Yes.
No therapy speak, but I think that's pretty obvious.
I think that's fairly clear.
Yeah. And so I think watching her on the stage on Monday night, I was just like, oh, there is no growth happening for real on a deep level that needs to happen. She is just very secure in her rightness and she shouldn't be at all because she wasn't right. And the way that she handled most of what happened on Love Island is like, maybe just don't date at all. But too late for that because she is under contract dating someone on a
Louis
Netflix
Russell.
show. Yeah.
Someone, and she can't talk about it for legal reasons due to Netflix.
Due to Netflix.
Last night, Netflix did change. That was so funny. Andy asks her about this relationship. She has been making public appearances with Louis Russell.
Red carpet.
We've talked about it on this podcast with regards to Perfect Match a few times. But this was happening for a while. I think it was at least 2 public appearances, and then they were papped as well. She has since soft launched him on social media after this reunion was taped. But last night, Netflix changed their X bio to "Don't at me, I don't know." After this exchange, because she was claiming that Netflix was preventing her from speaking on her relationship.
Which is just such a wild statement to make. And my favorite moment of the reunion was Andy looking at her, clear disbelief on his face, and then saying, well, tell Netflix this is the #1 most streamed show of the summer. And this is why they pay him the big bucks, because Andy is like, I'm sorry, you're not big dicking me in this room. I have been in these rooms.
Not.
Yeah, he knows like, what's up.
It
was really great.
I mean, here's the thing. Perhaps there were some things she felt she couldn't say due to Louis' Perfect Match contract. She could have spoken to this relationship in an oblique way. She very much could have. I don't think Netflix was sending her a cease and desist. They were literally making red carpet appearances, and the rest of the Perfect Match cast was speaking to this in interviews because it was very poorly timed with the airing of their show.
Yeah.
So like it's already out there in the public. You not speaking on it is not going to do anything. And it just felt like a very pointed moment where clearly Huda went into this being like, I am going to remain calm. I'm going to say, like, take responsibility in these general ways when I can. And I am going to be like extremely, to use therapy speak, boundaried with anything else I'm going to give. And so she ended up giving very little. And I understand feeling guarded going into a reunion, but I think that's to her own detriment because it doesn't allow us to, again, see any growth if it is there, which she claims it is.
Yeah, I think Andy did a really kind of great job of pointing out the tension in the posture she was taking, where he decided to show part of the clips they showed were some of her worst moments. And she just starts laughing in this way that I think is supposed to be like, I'm so over that. I'm good on that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different person. That's not me anymore. I can't believe I said that. And Andy is like, I was going to ask you how you felt about seeing this, but it seems like you find it really amusing, which is just such a perfect way of pointing out the inherent tension or dissonance of being like, I've learned and I've grown I've learned and I've grown, but I'm also gonna laugh at these moments that most people think are kind of heinous, where if you've actually learned and grown, seeing footage of that wouldn't make you laugh. It would kind of make you cringe a little bit, which I think is the response
Yeah.
that we would want from her in these moments to watching the way that she acted, is to respond in a way that's like, "Oh, ah, oh, I don't wanna, oh, ah," like, that really is uncomfortable for me to watch, but instead, she's very clearly amused by what happened, which is fascinating, a fascinating posture to take.
Yeah, I think we can honestly just get into all of the Huda stuff now because it happened throughout the reunion. We get that a very brief back and forth between Huda and Chris regarding the things that Huda has said in the press about Chris. We don't really get into specifics, and it just seems like they are not good and she does not care. That was
Mhm,
my main takeaway. We don't really litigate the moment where she is like speaking to him like he's her child in the bed or any
mhm.
of that. We kind of just glaze over it, and it's clear that Chris has a lot of anger towards Huda.
Mhm. Mhm. There was this moment where they're both asked how do they feel about seeing each other, and Huda is like, "I feel fine. I don't care.
Fine.
It's fine." Yeah, and Chris is like, "This is weird. This is really weird." And I was like, "You know what, Chris? Be honest." Like, he has
Keeping
no
it real.
desire to make this any more comfortable for her than it already
No.
is. He's like, "Oh, I'm not here to smooth this over. I'm not here to make it seem hunky dory. I'm not here to be like, I'm over this. I'm here to say that was weird. This is weird. This entire enterprise is weird, and I feel weird, and you should feel weird. And the fact that you don't feel weird is weird."
Is weird. Yeah, I mean, we also learned that Huda did reach out to Chris to apologize for some of the things she had said and kind of smooth things over, but that only happened a few days before filming the reunion. So Chris just doesn't feel that it was genuine. I mean, hard to say what is and what isn't genuine. I always give everyone on a show like this a bit of grace with
Yeah.
processing times, but I understand why Huda would wait to reach out. I also understand why Chris would be like, this doesn't mean much to me now.
Yeah, yeah. I can't imagine being in the position of being on a show like this and having these kind of artificial timelines imposed on when I need to process things or reach out to people or reach out to exes. But also, I fully understand where Chris is coming from and being like, I just don't feel like that was the best timing for this apology. It doesn't feel genuine. And
Totally.
Huda's response to that also didn't feel like she actually cared about apologizing either. So I feel like if she had been like, "You know what? That's fair. That's a really valid response to how I reached out to you." Instead, she was like, "I don't have any ill will towards you." And Chris is like, "Okay, I
Okay.
didn't think you were mad at me. I actually don't know why you would have any ill will towards me. I don't think this is about what I've done."
I feel like this was Huda's line. She repeatedly says that to
Yes.
people like, I don't have ill will towards you. I've moved on. That is her
Yes.
posture throughout the reunion. It's something that she invokes in a much later segment where we get into the fallout between her and Olandria and Chelley. And
Mhm.
that segment, I think, was for me sort of like the emotional center of the reunion.
I agree.
It
I agree.
was really, really difficult to watch. And it definitely gave me a lot of clarity as to like what precipitated that falling out because we knew that at a certain point, Shelley and Alandria had unfollowed Huda. And I think a lot of us weren't sure, like, was it because of things that were said on Call Her Daddy? Was there something else that
Mm.
had precipitated this? Because especially Alandria and Huda did seem very close in the villa. And in that Airbnb that we learned that a lot of the cast were staying in for a week after the villa back in the States, they also seemed very, very close. So I was like, what happened?
Yeah, I remember this is one of the few things that, penetrated through my no TikTok
TikTok
bubble.
ban.
Yeah, of knowing that Shelly and Olandria had unfollowed Huda, and I remember watching the show and thinking, this friendship does not seem long for this world, given Huda's response. I also can't help noticing that almost all of Huda's conflict is exclusively with Black people, from Chris to Jeremiah to Chelley to Olandria to Amaya. It's really striking. And
Yeah.
her inability to say the words racism until kind of really prompted into doing
Backed into a
so.
corner.
Yeah, I think she didn't say it until after Andy said it. So there's this segment, the kind of emotional center, as you said, of the entire reunion happens probably like an hour, 20-minute in. It's pretty late.
Even more. It's in the last half hour. So basically this is right after Andy pointedly asks her how she feels watching these clips back. He says, "You did a month of self-reflection and you're a different person now," which he really clocked it.
I
And
I
Huda
love that
says,
man. He's
it is
problematic,
the
but he's
perfect
so good
amount.
at what he does. He has no fear at all of calling people out, and I'm like, "You know what? This is the way to deploy this man. This is the chaotic chaotic
I mean,
evil way."
this is why you need a host that has as much power as Andy
Yes.
does. Like, there is not a deference to cast. He is not tied to one show. He is
Mhm.
of such a different generation that he is like not trying to be best friends with
Yeah.
everyone that he interviews. And I think that distance allows him to just say the things. He is like the
Yeah.
consummate professional when it comes to hosting a reunion. And I thought that that was a very valid question. What we want is to hear that Huda has done self reflection and looks back and believes she should have handled things differently. But I was disappointed that there weren't a lot of specifics named and
Yeah.
that this exchange with Chelley and Olandria. So Andy brings up the claims Huda made on Call Her Daddy that she was isolated and bullied in the house. And he says, like, I didn't really see that as a viewer because I saw a sisterhood. And Huda basically explains that these feelings came in large part because of clips
Mhm.
of the show that she saw after coming out of the villa. And they play a scene which I do remember watching and feeling like, oh, this would hurt to see,
Yeah, yeah.
of Sierra, Nick, Chelley, and Ace. And I think
Mhm.
Olandria is there as well with Taylor, but like Olandria doesn't really participate in this to my memory, and certainly not in the clip that we saw. And they are venting their frustrations about Huda's behavior. And she looks over at them and they're like, "Oh, she's staring at us. And she probably thinks we're talking about her. We're not." And they start like cackling.
Yeah.
I get being hurt by seeing that.
I
I
agree.
think that is valid.
Yeah. I mean, I think the reality of living in a house like this is that there are going to be a lot of private conversations happening about individual members
Yes.
of the
And
villa, and
people annoy each
especially,
other is the reality.
yes. And sometimes I think they're like venting is a really productive way to release emotional steam rather than directing it towards the person. And at this point, I believe in the season, Hood and Jeremiah was still in the house. So I think
Yes,
they were
and
all just so exhausted of this dynamic.
it was really toxic. It was really affecting everyone. And yeah, I both understand why Huda would be hurt to see this clip, especially in isolation after
Mhm.
the fact. And I also completely understand why, even as friends of hers, in the moment, you would feel the need to express frustration about a dynamic that is affecting your entire community living situation.
Yeah. Yeah. But to take that one clip, which I think is maybe one of the only times you see people on screen talking about Huda behind her back, to take that one clip and balloon it out into a narrative that she is being bullied by the
Bullied.
entire house, or at the very least by Chelley and Olandria, when what we see on screen is Chelley and Olandria biting their tongues so many times to avoid hurting Huda's feelings or to kind of navigate around Huda's feelings to avoid a blow up. What I saw in that house so much was Chelley and Olandria kind of visibly censoring themselves around Huda. And
Yeah.
so for Huda to not recognize that, she has a profound inability to read a room. I think that was
I
demonstrated in one of
agree.
the unaired clips which was one of the sources of dispute the entire season, which was this whole thing where Huda kept saying she brought back Chris from Casa Amor so that both Huda and Chelley could explore him. And this conversation is talked about so much over the course of the latter half of the season, and they shared the whole thing. And even in that conversation, you can see Chelley is trying very hard
Uncomfortable.
to figure out how to navigate this situation. She's not being honest. She's not lying, but she's not being honest. She's very clearly holding something back. And Huda just cannot see that
She
at
doesn't
all.
pick
She does
up
not
on it.
register that. She does not even pretend to care about taking the emotional temperature of a room. It's very young. She seems very young.
She seems very, very young. That clip was very interesting to me because what I saw is, like, as you said, someone very much not reading the visible discomfort on their friend's face. And I also saw a conversation where two people were kind of talking past each other,
Yeah.
and how I felt, like, I wasn't sure how I felt watching that clip. I was like, I don't actually think that either of them were wrong in that
I agree with
particular
that.
situation. Like,
I
Huda
think it
was
was
very much allowed to bring Chris back. Chelley was very much allowed to feel uncomfortable. And the thing that was missing is that they couldn't get on the same page about the thing that actually made Chelley upset, which is that she felt that Huda was putting too much emphasis on the fact that this choice was also for her, when it seemed to be a fundamentally selfish choice that she was also allowed to make. And,
yeah.
like, that connection wasn't able to be made kind of on either side.
Yeah, I think besides Olandria, or even honestly, Sierra was really good at communicating her feelings for all of her faults. I think that something that Shelley and Ace have in common, which is maybe why they're together, is that they don't necessarily speak with a lot of like emotionality. They don't really
Yes.
articulate their feelings at all. It For so much of watching them together, I was like, you are pantomiming a relationship. You are saying the words of being in a relationship and talking about the state of your relationship. But until the very last maybe week or so after they got knocked down a peg, I didn't actually see them forming an intimate relationship. But I couldn't tell if that was because of allegations of scamming or what I actually think is true, which is that they're both very young and they both have issues kind of articulating their feelings to each other and to other people.
There's not
And
a
so
lot
in
of
the
emotional vulnerability on the
yes,
surface in
yes,
either of their communication styles.
yes, which I think is such a marked difference from the way the girls communicated in season 6. Like they said what they
They were
meant.
all heart.
They
They
were
were all
always
heart.
saying what they meant and what they felt, and I just don't see anyone, almost anyone on season 7 of Love Island doing that besides Amaya and Sierra.
I agree with you. And I think Alandria has moments where she is able to
Yes.
articulate her emotions incredibly well. But yeah, on this reunion specifically, I think we saw a lot of visible control.
Yes.
Certainly from Huda, certainly from Chelley, certainly from Ace. And it's like you could feel the emotional
Mhm.
truth bubbling just under the surface. And I think what some of these people fail to understand, and Claire and I talked about this during the season, is that festering those feelings and not letting them come to the surface doesn't make them go away. And
Yes.
it doesn't mean we can't see them.
Yes.
And all it does is not allow the thing to be moved through. And I think that that is exactly what happened with Chelley's discomfort over the Chris situation.
I
Is
agree.
that we just didn't get that emotional truth during the season, but there was still like a resentment there and a frustration. And
Yeah.
I do have empathy for Chelley, like not wanting to rock the boat with Huda after you have seen that some of her emotional reactions can be a
The
bit
extreme.
destructive. But I still think it would have been better for her to just say the thing.
I agree, and I think Olandria struck that balance really well. I also love what you said about the being able to see the kind of festering emotions. I mean, even Ace, who I think is probably the king of not being emotionally vulnerable, you could hear his
Yeah.
voice shaking at certain points in a way where I was
I
just like,
know.
"Oh, this has very clearly affected you, and this is the first time I'm really seeing that happening on camera," and it made me feel, I think, a lot more sympathy towards him, just seeing that emotion kind of leaking through, even as the words that he was
Same.
saying said nothing to what that emotion was. I was like, even you letting the kind of like voice shake come through is making me feel, I'm like, oh my God, you're 22. I'm remembering that you're 22. I'm remembering that
I
you're
know you're
maybe
like a
turning
little
23.
baby.
Yeah. And it really shows
You're
in
a
those
little
moments.
baby and you are all grappling with like really hard things and a
Yeah.
really outsized amount of feedback from the public, and also
Hmm.
this crazy experience that you really haven't had the space or time to reflect on without the outside world leaking immediately into it. And but yeah, I think I hope that future casts kind of learn from that like you're not doing yourself any favors by holding that back.
I
So
agree.
we finally get to this moment we keep referencing, this exchange that it was kind of the emotional center. Ariana brings up Huda's friendship with Olandria specifically, and bring up the fact that there has been a clear falling out. And Olandria confirms that she and Huda were very close in the villa. And then after they all got their phones back after filming, Olandria saw the massive amount of hate that she was getting, she and Chelley, but specifically her, from Huda stans specifically, which of course is not Huda's fault, but is something that Huda could perhaps help address. And so she says that before they even left to go back to the States, she spoke to Huda about this and spoke about specifically like the racist element of a lot of this hate, and asked her if she could make a post to her fans directly addressing the hate train that was coming straight for Olandria and Chelley. And Huda did not do this. She did not make a post.
After saying she would.
After saying she would, like Huda agreed to do this because of their deep friendship that they both agree they shared. And Huda does not dispute that this request was made, nor
Hmm.
that she didn't do it. And then Huda went on Call Her Daddy, which she has done other interviews, which she references. But I think we can all agree that Call Her Daddy was by far the most visible platform that
Yeah.
Huda went on. And she did not address the racist hatred that was being directed towards Olandria and Chelley on her behalf. And she did make these claims about feeling bullied. And she did not name names, but a lot of people, a lot of fans assumed that Chelley and Olandria were two of these bullies. And so it ended up fueling the hate. And you see Olandria really like break during this segment.
Hmm.
She says, me and Huda were so close. I wasn't even worth a post. I was like, damn, did our friendship not mean anything? And Olandria says this is why she unfollowed Huda, and they had not spoken until the reunion after that. What did you feel watching this exchange?
I mean, my heart really went out to Olandria and to Chelley. Because honestly, I think one of the hardest things about being a Black person in America, or a Black woman specifically, in these spaces is that people who aren't Black really wanna be close to you. Like, I think Huda has, like, a affinity for Blackness, and you can tell, like, what she is attracted to and, like, what she wants to be around, and you feel that as a Black person that people wanna be around you and have an affinity for your culture, but then you're so often reminded that when push comes to shove, the simplest thing just can't be done, even if it's no real skin off your nose. Like, Huda would not have lost anything, and in fact, probably would have gained a lot by making a post saying, "I don't condone anti-Black racism. I see what's happening to Chelley and Olandria. I do not condone that. I do not want fans who say things like this. I do not want fans who are making disgusting edits of Olandria's face on George Floyd's body and Huda's face on the police officer's
Dare.
head, which is disgusting. One of the most
I was not
horrific
aware of
things.
this until
I
watching the reunion, and I
Same.
felt ill truly listening to her describe that.
I cannot imagine seeing that. I can't even watch the videos that come out when a Black person is murdered by a police officer. I avoid them like the plague because those images are just indelible. And so I cannot imagine coming off of an experience like Love Island that is already so intense because of the nature of it. And also, falling in love is intense in general. I feel like that should just be stated. Starting a relationship with anyone is one of the most like panic inducing things you can do. So to be doing that in the midst of all of this
In
in,
public.
in public, and then
Yeah,
for
like that on a
someone,
baseline is a fucking nightmare. And then you add a torrent of racist hatred,
yeah. And one of your
you know,
closest
and a
friends in the villa.
volume.
Yeah. One of the people who you have spent months helping, who have you spent months being a confidant for, who you have spent months biting your tongue for, who you have spent months basically making yourself smaller for so that they can live their life, cannot even do what feels like the bare minimum of friendship, which is to make a post saying, "I don't condone racism. I don't want fans who send things like this to people who are my friends." So to go that long without saying anything is one thing. And then to only add to the torrent of hate that Chelley and Olandria are facing by going on Call Her Daddy and saying, I was subjected to bullying, knowing that your fans are going to assume that it's Chelley and Olandria because that is the discourse that has been happening for the past month. It just really, I mean, I understand exactly why Olandria got emotional. It really makes you feel like you're worth less than nothing to someone that you have sunk an inordinate amount of emotional labor into. I'm sure there's so little we saw of how much time Olandria was spending talking to Huda. It had to have been so much. Like, it had to have been a huge part of her experience
Yes.
because they were
And I'm
together
sure in
from
those
day one to
moments,
like the end of the show, the whole time.
right. That's so intense. Like, I always talk about the experience of being like a summer camp kid. And I
Mhm.
feel like I understand the intensity and depth of a relationship that can form in like a fairly short amount of time when you are living 24/7 with someone.
Yeah.
This is that experience on steroids. Plus, everyone is surveilling you. And
Yeah.
everyone is, and millions of people are picking apart all of the most unflattering things that you did over the course of that period of time. Like that is hell on its face. And then you add a torrent of racism to that. And you add the fact that if I was Alandria, I would assume all of what I have poured into Huda is worthwhile because we have a friendship.
Mhm.
And a friendship is something that is reciprocal. And there are times when one friend has the ability to give a little more. But you assume that in your time of need, that friend is going to pour back into you. And I think that's such a good point that you're making, both about that feeling of disposability that
Mhm.
Alandria and certainly Chelley as well, but specifically Alandria must have felt. And also that it probably would have garnered Huda a lot of goodwill to do that. Like, not even, like, it wasn't even just, a gesture towards her friendships, but also would have been a boon to her. Like, I
Yes.
know I would have respected seeing that,
Yes.
because watching on the show, there's a lot to feel like sympathy and empathy towards Huda, right? You
Mhm.
want to see someone be able to grow. You want to contextualize that they're in a very difficult situation, that relationships can get toxic, that like childhood traumas can rear their heads. There are a lot of like ways that we can explain and give grace and empathy to people on reality TV. And you always hope that when they come off and they have some space and some time
Yeah.
to reflect, they are able to not just see the ways in which they've been wronged, but see the harm that they've caused other people. And like, that is how you move past those things, not just saying, I'm over it, I don't have ill will towards you. Like, that is not making amends.
Not at all. In fact, it puts the responsibility of making amends on the other person. By stating, "I don't have any
Yes,
ill will towards you," it presupposes there's a reason for you to have ill will towards someone. When
that is
you are
such a
not
good
the
point.
victim in a situation, for you to have been the person who has done harm and then to say, "I don't have any ill will towards you," is basically to say, if I harmed you, it wasn't on purpose, and also, I don't even really acknowledge that, and also, like, maybe it's your fault.
Right, right. And it takes so much, like, finally, after this entire exchange, finally, Huda says, I don't agree with you guys getting that hate in any way. I think that's wrong. Racism is wrong. I don't agree with it at all. And it just feels like it could have made such an impact to do this a month ago.
Oh,
And it wouldn't have
100%.
been difficult.
And also she
And
follows that up with
I
saying, "I received racism hate too." And so it
I
really,
know.
she is committed to being a victim in this situation where she is not one. And that is not to say there are not situations where she is a victim. I'm sure she has
Right, of
received a lot
course.
of racism.
Absolutely. We know she has. We know that CPS was called on her. We know that she is Palestinian woman and has received racist hate for that identity. And that is horrible. But to collapse that into this conversation is to like take away from the harm that she caused. As far as I am aware, it wasn't Chelley and Olandria's stans who were coming after Huda with racial hatred, but we know that a lot of the racism directed towards Chelley and Olandria was done allegedly on Huda's behalf. And that is why Olandria asked Huda to address it.
Yeah.
Like, these situations are not one to one, and also no one wants to get into a situation where you're playing the like oppression Olympics. Like, it is
Yeah.
not about it is to say like I do not condone the racism that my fans are sending Olandria and Chelley's way, is not to invalidate the harm that racism towards Huda causes. That's like a false mutual exclusivity.
Yeah. I mean, there's a real, you would think that the easiest way to process this is, I've been affected by this, therefore I can understand and empathize with
Empathy.
how this might affect someone else, rather than to say, well, it wasn't just you who received it. It was also me. And also, it's not my responsibility really to tell anybody anything. Where you would hope that someone who has spent so much time being poured into by these women would think, I want to make their lives as easy as possible because I love them and they're my friends. And that is what I would expect
Right.
from a friend. And if there is anything I can do to make their lives even a little bit easier, I'm gonna do it.
I
Making an
will.
Instagram post, she could have posted a black square, honestly, and it would have been enough. People would have gotten the fucking message. Like, it didn't even take that
Yeah.
much.
No, no. And I honestly think she could have even just posted a post that said, please stop bullying my friends. If you are my stan, I don't stand for bullying and hatred of any kind. Please
Yeah.
stop directing hatred on my behalf towards other people in the cast, right? Like, she could have been non-specific and still gotten the point across. And she simply didn't do that. And so that really made me understand where that friendship breach occurred and why Olandria and Chelley are so hurt and why they don't feel like moving forward with a connection to Huda.
100%. At the end, when they were like, we're not friends, there's no way to repair that trust. Huda just doesn't seem to actually care about that either. It seems
No.
that all of the connections or friendships that she made in the villa mean very little to her, which again, cannot imagine having spent my entire summer calming someone down from crashing out and embarrassing themselves on national television, helping them through a relationship. We've all had the experience with someone talking way too much about their relationship and being like, when am I going to get paid my $225 an hour for all the work that I'm doing to help you process your breakup?
Unpaid therapy.
Exactly.
I'm not even licensed.
I can't help you. I'm a child. Yeah. And so to go through that experience of having done that for someone and then they can't take 10 minutes to write a post. I am honestly, and I understand why they didn't say it because they're already dealing with so much. I would have been like, fuck you and fuck everything you stand for. Like, she deserved to hear that. She needs to hear that her actions have consequences.
And she doesn't seem to internalize that. Is equipped.
No, I agree.
To feel that. And I hope for the sake of people who are in her life and for herself that eventually that can happen for her. We always wish everyone to have like growth and peace in this world. But it was very disappointing to not really see any of that. It felt like she had grown like a hardened shell rather than approaching this reunion with vulnerability about both the ways in which she was hurt and the ways in which she hurt other people. Yeah. And I think, I just keep saying it, but I just continue to be so disappointed that we didn't see that. We didn't see that like true reflection on the ways in which she may have harmed Chris, harmed Olandria and Chelley, harmed Jeremiah. And I think that would have also perhaps opened up the floor for people to be vulnerable about the ways in which they might have hurt her. Mm-hmm. And instead, we just got none of that. And like this final segment, or not final, but in the last half hour, really just like really, really disappointed me and really horrified me.
Yeah, it was. There's this way when you're arguing with someone who has narcissistic tendencies in the least TikTok sense. Just, I think Huda is very clearly a little self-obsessed. And I think that happens when you are protecting yourself. Like, you end up obsessed about yourself because you are constantly protecting yourself from outside harm, when sometimes you're just walking into a room and no one's thinking about you, and that is entirely possible and in fact good. But
it's how I like to live my life at all times.
I like to assume no one is thinking about me at any given moment. Exactly. Exactly. And so you can see that they're arguing with someone who can't even agree on where reality is. They're not sharing a reality. The people she's arguing with are constantly just having to fight for her to acknowledge the facts of their experience of, this happened, you said this, then this happened, and then that happened, and this happened. And just having to fight for the facts of an experience means you don't ever actually get to talk about your experience and how you felt, because you are just trying to get someone to agree that something happened when we all saw what happened.
And I also just continue to believe that, like, in general, if you go on a reality show, the best thing you can do for yourself is afterwards own the things that you did wrong and focus on those things. And that is like going to be the best way for you to move forward with the public, with other people, find growth in yourself. Like, doubling down and hardening yourself to feedback is just not going to help you process this very overwhelming experience. Something else that I wanted to talk about is that towards the very end, we see an extended clip of the heart rate challenge.
Oh my God. I've been waiting months for this footage.
I know. There were so many rumors about what had happened. People were like, did Huda fully sit on Ace's face? I did not see that in the clip, although, the ass cheeks got quite close.
They did.
They got close, but there wasn't a full face sit. I just want to be precise.
This is ethics and journalism. I would like to know exactly where the ass cheeks are placed. And you're right. They were not on the face. They were very close to the face.
They were near the face.
They were near the face. Yes, exactly.
I think the new thing we did see is that Huda did like a licking motion up the groin, which is a move she pulled on Jeremiah in an earlier challenge. It was a lot. I will also say Chris going pretty hard.
Yeah. I agree as well. I was just happy to see the footage because for months I've been like, what happened? I just need to know what happened. I am sick of having 8 different people tell me what happened when there is definitely camera footage of what just happened so I can see what happened. So I was happy to see what happened. I think that the events that happened afterwards I think this was a culmination of things. I think this was a straw that broke the camel's back type of situation. Because I'm also like, and maybe they had private conversations. I don't know. I'm like, Chelley, you should be having just as much smoke for Ace. Ace was just as much as of a participant in this. If you are mad at Huda, you should be mad at Ace because Ace was very clearly very excited about this because he was upset that Chris was bullying you.
Loving it. He was loving it. And we know that Ace is attracted to Huda.
Yes.
We know that from the beginning. We know that. I agree with you that my conclusion was this was the straw that broke the camel's back. This was festering frustrations that didn't have an outlet and suddenly had an outlet when this challenge occurred. Because even seeing the footage, I was like, yeah, that was a lot. But like, if there hadn't been growing resentments, I just don't think it would have become a thing. I will say that I saw on social media that someone commented like, why was Ace not being questioned?
Yeah.
And Jeremiah confirmed that he was, but they cut it out. And I'm annoyed.
Oh, I'm also annoyed because, it makes it feel like it's just Chelley being mad at Huda when it's like, I don't actually think I think it's both of them. I think it's both of them because I think what Chelley, it seems like she's upset about is like a bit of hypocriticalness. Hypocrisy is the real word for that. Because on one hand, she's like, if I had done this to Jeremiah, you would have been all up on my ass, which is 100% true. And then I also think she's a little bit like with Ace, she's like, you are always on this like no touching bullshit. And then you do that in front of everyone. And so I'm like, if you're going to be mad at hypocrisy, call it out on both counts. So it does make sense that Ace was also being questioned. I'm upset that they cut it out because I'm like...
Me too. I also had heard rumors before the reunion aired that Jeremiah and Ace had gotten into like really, really, really gotten into it during the reunion. And we didn't really see that. So I am wondering if they also cut that out. And I also wonder if Jeremiah went in on Ace during this segment as well. And we didn't see it.
See that.
Me too.
I would have loved to see that rather than whatever was happening with Austin, though him rebooting in the middle of the reunion was hilarious.
Deceased.
There was a moment where Ariana asked Austin, what do you think about what just happened? And he literally pauses for 20 seconds and is like, I'm sorry, I just zoned out. Which, honestly, like, real. I would also be disassociating on the stage. They've been there for so long.
I think that, I remember they were taking a dinner break at like 10 p.m. on the day that they were filming this. So I think they were filming for like I don't know, 12 hours.
Oh my God.
Something ridiculous. Maybe not 12, but they were filming for a very long time, and then it was edited down into 2 hours. I'm going to say I think they could have chopped some of the clip montages.
Yeah. I never want a clip montage. I've seen the show. That's why I'm here. Only show me unseen footage.
Show me unseen footage or a clip to specifically contextualize a claim.
Yes.
Other than that, I don't need it. I don't need a friendship montage. I don't need like a cute couple montage.
No,
I don't care.
I did
don't
not care about the pillow fights. I already saw it on television and I said, that's cute. I don't need to see it again. I don't need to see Three Musketeers.
Exactly.
I'm done with them. I saw enough of them on the show. I want to see, I would have loved to see Ace and Jeremiah getting into it because their animosity is so clear and it's never fully stated as to what's going on. And so all I have to say is that Ace is very clearly jealous of Jeremiah, and Jeremiah realized it once he left and is now like, oh, fuck this. Like, you were on my ass this entire time.
Jeremiah. He hates Austin too.
Yes. Which Austin, I'm like, well.
And I know. I'm like, Austin, fair enough.
I get it, unfortunately. But Jeremiah, I'm like, the reason you hate him is so clearly just based in jealousy, and it's so funny. And it's like, get it together. Your motives are so clear to everyone else, and this is what happens when you don't process your emotions. You think you're hiding them, and instead it's like you're walking around with the walking "I'm jealous" sign taped to your back along with your name.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just his tattoo and then jealous of Jeremiah.
Yes. No, literally his vibe the entire time Jeremiah was in the house.
No, I wish I would have seen the two of them get into it more because I do think that dynamic was so obvious and so interesting. I do want to discuss the two different dumping footages that we got.
Yeah.
So we did see the boys discussing Jeremiah's dumping.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this was very interesting because it backed up Nick's claim that he actually was advocating for Austin to leave.
Yeah.
And it was Taylor and Ace who wanted Jeremiah gone. And this made a lot of sense to me.
I think so as well. Seeing that, Nick is, I end up 50-50 on him so many times because sometimes I'm like, I can't tell where your loyalties lie. And it feels like they lie with Olandria enough that I'm like, all right, fine. As long as you're good with her, you're good with me. But sometimes he's just a real flip-flopper. And so seeing him advocate for Jeremiah behind the scenes with Taylor and Ace did make me feel more warmly towards Nick.
Me too.
One thing I will say for the reunion, I'm glad they did not have me listening to Taylor that much. I think that man spoke 2 sentences the entire 2 hours, and I was very grateful for it. Would have loved to hear more from Clark. I love her. I'm obsessed with her.
I know. I'm like, Clark, don't move to Oklahoma.
Free her! Free her!
Clark seems great. Clark is just like, please exclude me from this narrative.
Yes,
let me
She's
live.
too good for him. She needs to get out. I'm like, oh, Clark, you're too good for this man, but whatever. But seeing Taylor just say, I'm so frustrated with how Jeremiah's moving. It seems like he's making the same mistakes. Say more about what does that even mean?
He also says that Jeremiah is not doing Love Island the right way.
Yes.
And I think that something that really, really got Taylor, Ace, and Chelley in trouble with the audience were these ideas about what it meant to do Love Island correctly and kind of the changing shape of how they define that. And we see this in this dumping conversation. We see this actually fairly early in the reunion where Chelley says she thinks that the audience lost the plot of Love Island. But then we see her in the Hannah dumping being like, we shouldn't be focusing on strong connections.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, it feels like maybe you guys did approach the season with some preconceived notions of what it meant to move correctly.
Yes.
And that did not land well for the audience. And I do think that a big reason that like Chelley and Ace didn't make it to the finals was because of some of these earlier choices that just didn't feel good as a viewer to watch.
I agree. I think generously, because assuming that they're both the people I know them to be from the many hours I spent with them, as close personal friends. But
Yeah,
I
our
think
besties.
they both liked each other a lot from the beginning, and I think they were both so afraid of locking in early that
Should
they
have
went
locked
the
in.
complete they should have just locked in. They went the
They
complete
should have locked
opposite
in. I would have loved
direction.
it.
We all would have
I
loved
was.
it. From the beginning,
all
we
would
were
have
all
loved
like
it.
Chelley, Ace. Oh my God, they know each other beforehand. It's fate. They're together. I can't believe this is
I
happening.
love a rom-com.
Same. And
I
I'm like,
love a rom-com. Day one, Chelley
Yeah.
was my favorite. Day
Yes.
one, I loved Ace. And the thing that frustrated me as a viewer was at that first recoupling,
Yes.
when Ace did not choose Chelley. It
Yes.
felt false. It
Yes.
felt
I think
obviously false.
I think it was an ego-based move. I think that he was a little scared that Chelley was going to keep exploring while they were in a couple. And he was like,
Oh, that's
I'm
such a
okay
good
with
point.
Chelley exploring as long as we are not in a couple. I will explore with her as long as she is with a couple with someone else. But once we are together, I want us to be together. And I don't think he knew that. I don't think he was saying that out loud to himself. But I think there was a real, like, I don't think he would have been able to handle Chelley exploring with Austin if they had been together. So he was like, we're not locking in.
I think you're right.
Forever until I'm sure you only want me.
I think
it's insecurity.
I think you're very much right. I think it is insecurity. And again, this goes back to the like the being too controlled. Like I
Yes.
would have felt such empathy for Ace if we had seen him express that.
Yes.
And instead, it's just sitting there under the surface, unstated,
Bubbling.
and we're seeing bubbling, and we see Ace choose Amaya, immediately shut her down.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's also why Ace was so like triggered by Jeremiah and Huda. I think it's because he deep down wanted that for him and Chelley. And so he was like,
He's
well,
like,
if
but
I
I'm doing
can't
it
have
right.
that, it's because you're doing it wrong. It's not because it's because that's not supposed to be happening. It's not because I can't have that right now because I'm too scared of expressing my feelings. It's I can't have that because you shouldn't have that either. And so he decided to go after them because he was like, no one should be locking in from the beginning. When I think if he had had an option, if none of that, if Yulissa hadn't stolen him in the beginning, I think he would have locked in with Chelley from the beginning.
Right. He wouldn't have chosen someone else in a recoupling.
No, there was no one else that he really had a connection with at any point throughout the entire show. He flirted with people, but like there was no one else that he really actually connected with other than Chelley.
No. And Chelley was exploring, but I think Ace was her number one the entire time. And so I think that gap in between what people could see and then the actions is what ultimately ended up screwing them in the votes.
Yes.
I think they've sort of misread things a little bit in the
100%. Yeah. Which is, I can't imagine trying to figure out what is the right takeaway after getting out the villa because you are being bombarded with 100
no, it's
different
a nightmare.
Opinions. So I'm like, I can't blame you.
I would be terrible at coming off of this show. That's why I don't go on reality TV.
Locked in a psych ward for 2 years.
Same.
Just like, don't talk to me. I don't want to hear anything. So I get it.
Every time anyone said TikTok, I would start like twitching.
Twitching. Yeah. Exactly. So I think I'm happy for Ace and Chelley that they've managed to like maintain their relationship outside of this. I
do very much believe in their relationship. Yes. I actually think they're very well matched. I think that they seem to have like really grown closer together in the aftermath. And I again, I give a lot of grace to anyone who has their back up a little bit after receiving like an onslaught of commentary from the public. So I
Yeah,
really do get that.
but they did piss
Um,
me off for real on the show,
but they
to be
they
clear.
did.
They
Look, they
pissed me off
did.
for
They
real.
just
They
did.
really
They
by the end,
did.
when they got voted off, I was like, "Honestly, you deserve it." Like, when they started getting humbled during the, um what
That's when I
challenge
liked
was
them the
it?
most.
Yeah.
The one where they had to everyone got
Ranked
rated.
people? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Ranked,
and they
yeah.
they kept putting themselves at the top and then got voted down. I was like, "A little bit. I'm glad you're being humbled because you're both moving in this way that feels like you think you're right."
Presupposes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
They
you are not
presuppose a moral
incorrect.
high ground,
Yes.
especially Ace. And
Oh
I
my
do think part of what
god.
happened is that Shelley bought into Ace's
Yeah,
conception of the show. And we saw that in the Hannah vote,
yeah.
where
Yeah,
Shelley is kind of like, well, is she just locking in too quickly? And
which is
she's not
the
exploring,
point.
which is so odd because Charlie and Pepe overlapped and
Yes!
Hannah was
Yes!
literally exploring while
Actively
with
getting into
Charlie.
fights with Charlie because she was exploring with Pepe.
It
I
didn't make sense.
It didn't make any sense, and I wish they would've just given in to the chaos and been like, "None of this is gonna make any sense. There is no way for any of this to make sense because we are in a Stanford prison experiment on a villa
Right.
in Fiji. None of this makes sense."
There's so
That's
much overhead lighting. No one's
no,
brain can
exactly. I'm
function.
wearing a mic pack and I haven't been able to make my own food in months. None of this is normal. We're just gonna
I'm
lean
wearing a
into
mic
that.
pack and no clothing.
Yes, my ass is out 24/7. My ass cheeks have never been this tan. Like, I wish they had just given into that and been like, this decision is not gonna make sense. We don't have any logic for why to eliminate someone. We just have to because that's what the show is making us do, rather than being like, they're not doing Love Island correctly. There's no right way to do Love Island besides falling in love.
There's not rules. There's not rules
There's
like
no
that.
rules.
There's no rules. The rules are do a challenge when the
Yes.
phone tells you to,
Yes.
recouple when Ariana tells you to.
Yes.
That's the only rules.
Yes, yes.
That's
And
it.
if there were rules, the producers would be breaking them all the time. Like, that's the thing. Nick and Olandria should not have come back according to the rules. Like,
Right,
the
because
point
there's
of
no
the
rules,
show
'cause it's a
is that the
TV
rules are
show.
fake. Exactly. It's all fake. You're on a brightly colored Coco Melon Island for 6 weeks. Just give in.
Oh, it is. Just give in. You don't even know what time it is.
No, exactly.
You don't even know what time it is.
I
There's
know,
no right
yeah.
way to do it.
Yeah.
And I did feel for the girls watching the footage back and seeing them start to get so upset about the fact that they had to eliminate someone. And you're completely right. The line shouldn't have been, we have a clear reason. The line should have been, there was no one that made sense to eliminate. And we landed on you because we really wanted to give Amaya and Iris
a
chance to actually find connections.
Yeah.
And we felt like Iris had been through a lot. I mean, I personally still think Iris should have gone home. But I think it should have been Austin and Iris.
I agree. I think if the show were to make sense, I think that is the decision that makes the most sense.
There's no rules, so it doesn't make sense. But if it were to make sense, those would have been my picks.
But it was really surprising to me, actually, to find out that all the Islanders made the same decision that America would have made anyway. Like, finding out that Jeremiah was ranked last and then Hannah was also ranked last, I was like, oh, so this would have happened regardless of anything if they had just let America vote.
Right. That was very confusing to me. Well, I think part of it is, and I've talked about this before, it's just a flaw in the way that the voting happens, where it's pick your favorite.
Yeah.
It's not pick who you want
your least favorite
to be eliminated.
Yeah.
So, and I do think that someone posted the actual polls from the night when America was asked, like, who should be dumped, and the choices were Austin and Iris. So, I think it's like you can get a different result when the question is asked a different way. Like, the fewest number of people were like, Jeremiah is my favorite.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean Jeremiah is the least favorite.
That is so true. That is the questions that they are asking are framed in a very leading way, which is really, really interesting. Yeah, those dumpings were I can't even say I'm mad about them
No, I mean,
because they
it is what it
introduced a
is.
lot of fascinating dynamics into the house. I will say that, like, this season has not great vibes, but I think that it's phenomenal reality television. Like, I think it's really well done reality television, but I don't wanna know any more about these people, and which is
I
completely
want to delete
opposite.
them.
I get them out of my brain. Versus Love Island USA season 6 was both great reality television and also really
Keep them in my
phenomenal
brain.
people. I want them to stay they're my best friends in my head, like, I love
They're
them.
my best friends. I'm invested in every single one of
Yes.
them.
Yes.
I, I need them to just have all the happiness in the world, except Kenny. He's been deleted now. He's no
Oh my
longer my
god.
best friend.
Kenny
But
can
yeah, Janae,
fuck off. Yep.
Leah, Serena, I mean, Kaylor,
Miguel,
Liv. I need all of
Cordell.
them.
I know.
Cordell, Miguel.
Mm.
I, I even want good things for Aaron. You
Same,
know?
actually same. I really turned a corner on
Yeah.
Aaron. I'm not even watching Beyond the Villa, but everything that happened to him afterwards, I'm like, "Oh, he seems so sad
He's
now."
he's so sad. He's so sad. You can't help but want the best for him. And it's just such different vibes than what we got on this season. Like I am such a softie that it just makes me like really, really sad, especially to see women disappointing each other and seeing
Yeah.
women hurt each other. And so to see the way that these relationships have, like platonic relationships, have all fractured so severely after, it like really leaves a very sour taste in my mouth about the season as a whole. And it makes me want to back away from all of these people.
I think that's really fair. I agree in terms of I have no desire to be in a room with truly any of these people after this. The reunion is probably the point at which I'm like, "Okay, I'm done with these people. I don't need to know
And
anymore."
I wish you the best from a distance.
Exactly.
Just as all of them wished
Exactly.
each other.
Yeah, I'm like, the way that you feel about each other is the way I feel about y'all. It does make me hopeful, and this is my fundamental optimism. It does make me hopeful for Love Island USA season 8 because
Same,
I feel like
same.
between season 6 and season 7, hopefully people will get the correct message because I think based off of Love Island USA season 6, people came in and were like, "We're gonna prioritize a friendship." But people think that friendship is based on proximity, and I think we all spend enough time in high school to know that being around a lot of people all the time doesn't mean that you like them or that they will be your friends forever. You can fake that for
No.
a very long time, but eventually the fissures are gonna start to show. And so I'm hoping that people will see how this cast fractured post-season and realize, okay, the friendship is not automatic. The friendship is not real. The friendship can
The friendship is
also
investment. The
exactly.
friendship is showing up for people. And also, you're allowed to have conflict in friendship.
Yes,
And the best
please
thing
have
you can
conflict.
do,
Yes.
have the conflict and move through it. Like I kept thinking about Liv and Leah
Yes.
and the conflict that we saw in season 6 and the fact that that was allowed to come to the fore, explode a little bit. They can move past it and they're
Yes.
great
Yes.
friends now.
Janae and Serena had beef when Miguel came in and Janae made him eggs and they
Oh my
fully
God, I
moved
forgot
through it.
about that.
They had a conversation about it and Serena was like, "Girl, you were doing too much." And Janae was like, "Yeah, you know what? You're right. I was really focused on like getting the man and that." And Serena was like, "Just don't do it again." And they were fine afterwards. And now they're
Of
best friends.
course. They are now like family. And
Yes.
that is a healthy part of friendship, is having conflict.
Yes.
And what makes it worse is if you force that
Suppress
friendship,
it.
you suppress your feelings, and then they come out. They are going to come out in
Yes.
inopportune ways, in an outsized way, and you are not going to have the ability to move through them. And so I
Exactly.
do hope that that is a takeaway that we see from the new cast. And I am just, I think that the highlights of the reunion for me were seeing how locked in Nick and Olandria seem to
Yeah.
be, how steady Chelley and Ace seem to be. Like I really
Mhm.
am rooting for those couples. I am rooting for like only the best things, certainly for Amaya, for Hannah. Amaya and Hannah are two women who I do think understand how to have a friendship.
Yeah. Yeah.
There
They're
was
both
a
people
moment
who
where
are
Hannah,
very vulnerable. They wear their emotions
yes,
on their sleeves in a way where they were two people who I was actually like, I would love to spend time with you. I think you'd be really fun. Specifically Hannah
me too.
after the reunion. There was this moment where they show the footage of her getting dumped and they're making the decisions. And
She starts
Andy asks her,
crying.
how does it make her feel? And she just takes a breath and she's like, I'm sorry, I just need a moment. Because like it's very emotional seeing that footage. And she just so beautifully articulates why she's emotional in that moment of it's
Ugh,
very strange to be back here because you leave and you focus on getting over it. And so it's just very strange to be back with these people talking about these things. And it's good because I'm processing it, but it's also very intense.
a
She's
lot.
just so good at saying, this is just the reality of how this situation would make anyone feel. And I'm living those feelings as we're talking about it. She just seems like
And
such a
then at the
sweet
same
girl.
time, she really does. And then at the same time, afterwards, she's able to say, that is so hard to watch. I'm
Mhm.
having these hurt emotions watching it. Also, a large segment of the audience wanted me to be really
Yeah.
angry at these women and wanted me to disregard the friendships and wanted me to believe that these people were not my real friends. And I have now had space and time to realize that someone was going to get hurt regardless.
Mhm.
And that person was me. And I value these people and I am not angry at them, even though it's hard to watch. And I
Yeah.
see that connections formed off the back of like my sacrifice, essentially. And I am really happy for those people. And I just think that that is such a level of emotional maturity that we
Mhm.
didn't see a lot of, like that ability to be like, I was hurt. It's still hard to think about these things. I also can step back from myself and see the reality that we were in this false constructed situation where hurt was inevitable
Yeah.
and it came for me in this situation. And that is not a reflection of some fundamental moral failing on the part of
Yes.
my peers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just
It
think we
was
needed a
really
lot
beautiful to
more of
watch.
that.
Yeah, I agree. I think there is and I think this is I'm so sorry to do generation politics, but I
No,
really
do
feel
it.
like there's this way that because of social media and because of just where we are politically, that everything is kind of being given a moral or political inflection. And it is true that politics are everywhere. Politics are everything. But
Yes.
I also just think there is this way that younger people or people who spend a lot of time online are having an issue kind of processing the gray area of life, which is majority of life, to be quite honest. There is just a base level truth that sometimes you are hurt or you hurt people without intending to, and that doesn't make you a bad
Yeah.
person, and it doesn't make the other person a bad person for being hurt or for hurting you, but you do have to address the hurt. Like you do it doesn't mean you like
Yes.
wipe out the harm because you're like, well, they're a good person, they didn't mean it. That can be true, and you can also be hurt by that person, and addressing that hurt is the only thing that's gonna help you move through it and to be able to
And
address
help
that going
yourself
forward.
too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like everyone wins when we are able to sit with the discomfort of the harm that we've caused someone else. And as I think you said earlier, like that is an inevitable part of life. And I think that when we try to put a very black and white moral structure on every individual decision that people make
Yes.
on a reality TV
Yes.
show, it it doesn't help anyone. And I really hope that the audience, like the fandom of this show, that we all can sit with ourselves after seeing this, because the tenor of the discourse that I have seen around this show, I think has really contributed certainly to like my feelings of like true illness
Yeah.
watching, because it feels as if anytime someone missteps
Yeah.
or causes someone to feel hurt, there is like almost more anger than we reserve for the fascist president
Yeah.
sitting in the White House. That it's like that level of ire is being directed at a sex idiot on Love Island.
No, exactly.
And I
There's
don't think
this
that's going to help these people to grow into functional, full-fledged, emotionally intelligent adult members of our society.
Yeah, there's a real question that I don't think people are asking themselves of what do you actually want the outcome of your actions to be if you are bullying or standing or whatever you're doing online? Do you want this person to be a better person and to grow and learn? Because putting them on a pedestal is not gonna do that. And also targeting them
Tearing them
for
down is not going to
harassment
do
isn't gonna
that.
do that. Treating them like a person who has flaws that can be corrected over time, but who will continue to fuck up because that is just the reality of being a human being. There is no point you're gonna fuck up till the day you die. Like, that's just the reality of being alive. And so allowing people to acknowledge and correct their fuck ups both means being able to say, I like you, but you fucked up. And I think that you should address that. And if you address it in a way that I find to be compelling, I can move past that. And also just not disposing of them as soon as they do something you don't like, because these people are not your mascots. These people are not your, TikTok influencers. These people are not your friends. These people are just strangers you've never met before who have a fully formed individual personality that is not going to perfectly align with whatever you want from them. They're not robots. They're not AI. It's not ChatGPT. Like, these are real people.
These are real people. These are real, full humans who are complex and imperfect. And also, yeah, not a symbol of a political movement or a political moment. And I understand so much the impulse in moments of political upheaval and strife and pain to find an outlet for those feelings
Yeah.
that feels more accessible than the people who feel quite almost untouchable and are perpetrating a lot of harm onto everyone in our society. Those people feel pretty hard to hold accountable. And so
Yeah.
I think there is like a real human instinct to reach for a stand-in, and reality TV is often something that can be that. And I remember noticing these kind of dynamics erupting during Trump 1.0 also.
Yeah.
But now with TikTok, like and the further splintering of our media ecosystem, it feels like that is happening on overdrive. And I would just caution people to like take a beat and take a step back and to perhaps redirect some of that energy into a more productive place and leave these people with a little bit of peace.
Yeah, a little bit of breathing room, a little bit of grace. I mean, if you think about every one of your own individual actions, I think very few of us can tie back every single one of our individual actions to like a concrete goal, a concrete reason. Sometimes
Moral
moral
worldview.
exactly. Sometimes you just do things. Like, I'm sure I could find moral wrongs in almost everything I do. I'm sure there's a
Same.
reason I shouldn't get an oat vanilla latte for ethical reasons, and there might be a reason to cancel me for that, but that's the reality of being alive. Not every situation, not every choice you're gonna make is gonna be the perfect one, and I think giving people the space to not be perfect. I think that pressure is also part of why Huda is doubling down so much, is she
I
has
agree.
this real huge fan base that is defending every one of her actions, and that pressure to keep satisfying those people is massive versus having I don't even know if you can have an audience that embraces your full humanity because those are strangers to you, but it's about setting boundaries between you and the people watching you and being like, "You get maybe conservatively 20% of my life, possibly less than that. The people in my actual life get maybe 50% of who I am because we spend a lot of time in our own heads. Most of our life is lived in our own heads, and people get less than half of that. So it's like, I don't know you. Like, you don't know these people. And I think we just keep forgetting that because there's so much information about them. We know so much about these people, but we don't know them.
No, and we never will. And I think that the space between the people we watch on our televisions and us, because all of it is mediated through social media and all of us are surveilling ourselves and living our digital lives in the same spaces, those boundaries have been like completely
Yeah.
collapsed. And I think that that leads to bad outcomes for the audience, that leads to bad outcomes for the people that we're watching on our televisions, and it limits that ability to actually grow and learn from the ways in which these people are, for our entertainment, fucking up in real time on our TV
Yeah.
sets.
Yeah.
TV sets, that made me sound so old, on our fucking smart TV streaming devices,
Our
on our
flat screen
yeah.
TVs, yeah. Bring back the TV set, I miss her.
I know. Give me like one of those clunky
Yes, with the
90s
giant
TVs
box
from our
behind it and the bunny
childhoods.
ears.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Give
It
give
felt
me an
pure back
antenna,
then.
God damn it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. No, that's just our little rant about these people. And I truly do wish everyone on this cast, like,
Yes. Peace,
to be,
therapy,
you
a
know,
good therapist.
therapy, good therapists, loving communities around them to hold them up. If they are still in their relationships, I am truly rooting for them. And I hope that over the next year, they are allowed to recede a little
Yeah.
bit. Like,
Yeah.
because I think that will be a gift to all of them. And to kind of use these platforms to pursue the things that they care about, that they love, to invest in the friendships that are real and that have carried through the villa, and just allow all of us to forget about them a little bit in a way that I think will be really healthy.
100%. 100%. I think also something I'm thinking about is that this is the beginning of these people's careers. I mean, I think about what I was doing at the beginning of my career, and I'm like, I want everyone to have room to like room and space to evolve and grow and to change up what they're doing. Like this experience should not define who they are for the rest of their natural lives. So go
No.
with God. Please, Love Island USA season 7 cast, go with God.
We're wishing
We
you
salute
so
you.
much.
Thank you for
We
your
salute
service
you.
because I was
Truly.
entertained. I was entertained.
It was a large part of my summer,
And it
so
was.
we are grateful to you,
Thank
and
you.
we hope
Wish you the
you
best.
can, yeah, just live your lives in peace and health and happiness. Rachel, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap this shit up? I know there's a lot of stuff we didn't get to, but we simply can't talk about every detail of this goddamn
I think we
reunion.
could be here for conservatively 24 hours if we wanted to talk about
Think so.
everything that happened. But no, I think that's everything. Thank you so much for having me. This was a real blast.
Oh my gosh, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for your incredible insights. I always love chatting with you and having you on the pod. And can you tell the people where they can find you, your podcast, your work, remind them where they can get tickets for your live tour?
Yeah, Normal Gossip you can find on any podcast platform. You can buy tickets for the live show at normalgossiplive.com. There are 8 shows over the course of 2 weeks. We are going across the country, so see if we're stopping in your city. And then I am, as I've said a few times, not very much online these days, but if you would like to follow me on Instagram and
For
see me
health.
occasionally post photos of my cat, that is HEYYDNAE on Instagram.
And I do want to see photos of your cat. That's why I follow you on social media, because that's good for my mental health.
I love to just drop in like every 2 months and be like, here he is. He's still cute.
And it's very soothing.
Yeah.
Rachel, thank you so much. I just so appreciate you. You're the best.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
And on that note, that is it for this episode of Love to See It with Emma and Claire. Thanks to our guest, Rachelle Hampton. Love to See It is a presentation of Odyssey. The show is produced by us, Claire Fallon and Emma Gray. This episode was edited by John Bahar. Our theme music is by Tamar Haviv, and our art is by Aaron Nestor. If you like our show, remember to follow us, rate us 5 stars, and leave a review. And of course, spread the word to all of your friends about Love to See It. If you want to get in touch, you can email us at claireandemmapod@gmail.com. You can also find us on TikTok at Love to See It Pod and on Instagram at Claire and Emma Pod. And you can find our newsletter Rich Text on Substack at claireandemma.substack.com. I'm also on Blue Sky at Emma Gray and on Instagram at Emma Lady Rose. And Claire is at Claire E. Fallon. Special thanks to the team at Odyssey, Eric Donnelly, Kate Rose, Moira Curran, Melissa Wester, and Hillary Shoup. We'll be back very soon. Can you keep